Hello everybody and welcome to the Big Daddy D's annual WrestleMania report. Let me just start off by saying, wow, what a night. Spoilers, seeing The Undertaker actually lose at WrestleMania is going to be a talking point for months. But what this night was all about was Daniel Bryan's big win. But the event also had a number of nostalgic moments as well, such as the opening segment where we got the unbelievable sight of seeing Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock, the three greatest legends of all time, in the same ring together at the Silverdome, aka the Superdome. Yeah, good start there, Hulk. Austin and Rock weren't going to let you forget that one. 20 minutes had actually passed by the time this opening segment had finished. 20 minutes at a WrestleMania without any actual wrestling, but it was already one of the best Manias so far. Triple H made his usual ridiculous entrance. Obviously last year's wasn't enough when he emerged out of Castle Grayskull with what appeared to be cocaine all over his stomach, but this year he continued the Castle Grayskull Conan the Barbarian theme, but with some added Game of Thrones and what appeared to be the helmet of Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. A very technical match here between Daniel Bryan and Triple H, which is odd. I expected Triple H to come out here and be the usual blood and guts brawler that he normally is, but in his mind, Hunter seems to think that he's a throwback to the 1970s and guys like Arn Anderson and Harley Race. The truth is, technical wrestling's not exactly his strong point. However, tonight he did have one of the best matches that he's had in years, something that Daniel Bryan could easily lead him through. Very happy to see that Bryan went over clean, and then Hunter got his payback after the match, which will just make Bryan even more of an underdog going into the triple threat match later on the night. You couldn't really ask any more from this. One of the best matches of the night. The Shield versus Kane and the New Age Outlaws was nothing more than a squash match, the type of thing you'd see on Wrestling Challenge on a Saturday morning. I expected the Shield to defeat the veterans, but not dismember them like this. It actually looked as if Reigns was going to take them all out by himself at one point. Anyway, finished off with a nice impressive double, triple powerbomb to the Outlaws for the win. In the back we've got a number of the veterans such as Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Sergeant Slaughter, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and they're playing with the Slam City figures, or Slam Shitty as Hacksaw seemed to be calling them. Oh dear. So, going into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I was calling it Big Show's going to win this. He's going to win the whole thing, especially considering that he's coming out wearing the old ring gear that resembled what Andre used to wear. There were actually 31 guys in there in the end. They snuck an extra one in. Oh, and there was a true Kofi Kingston moment when he was tossed a mile over the top rope, but his feet never actually touched the floor. Anyway, a fantastic ending, which saw Cesaro scooping up and slamming the Big Show over the top rope to win the match. A nod to the past with a win for the future. Really didn't see that coming, and it was scary just how easily he picked up the show. I mean, just how strong is this guy? I can see a major face turn and push coming. Oh, and do you know why he won? Because he was the only one that was strong enough to lift up the trophy afterwards. Oh, and earlier on in the night, in the kickoff match, Cesaro and Swagger officially split up after losing to the Usos. So it looks like they're going to go their own separate ways, and Cesaro's going to go on to bigger, better things. Next up, we had John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, who had a live band for his entrance, whilst Cena got booed like a heel. Cena went batshit insane out there, and Bray was laughing at him throughout. It reminded me of that interrogation scene from The Dark Knight. The match told a great story, with Bray trying to bring out Cena's dark side. It was a very peculiar match in places, particularly due to the crowd's reaction, but both men gave an absolutely stellar performance. Although Bray's spider moment will likely ensure that I won't sleep for a week. We got to see the Hall of Fame class of 2014 next. It was good to see Jake the Snake Roberts and Razor Ramon himself, Scott Hall, turning their lives around, overcoming those personal demons and getting into the Hall of Fame. Truly an inspiration to us all. And DDP himself deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as well, just for what he's done here. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar was next. Another amazing WrestleMania entrance from the dead man here, with lots of coffins being rolled in with the names on of everyone that he defeated during the streak. In fact, never mind the undefeated streak, I reckon if you saw a coffin with your name on it suddenly burst into flames, you'd have a big old shit streak in your kecks. Unfortunately, the match was really slow, and often boring in places. It just about managed to kill off the crowd, who'd been hot all the way through this event so far. Both men looked severely past their prime. Taker looked like he'd fallen asleep on a tanning bed, whilst Brock retained his title as reddest, sweatiest man at a WrestleMania. Someone, please, chuck him a towel. If you want to see a really good Taker vs Brock match, then I recommend you to watch their Hell in a Cell match at No Mercy 2002. Okay, fair enough, that was 12 years ago, I can understand that. You know, since then Father Time has turned up and kicked both their asses somewhat. But that's not an excuse. Taker had a much, much better match against CM Punk last year, and against Triple H the year before that. So I almost wish that he'd hung up the tights after his match with Punk, or after his match with Triple H. That would have been a much more fitting end to The Undertaker's career than this shit sandwich. Yes, as you've no doubt heard, the streak is over. I mean, what the fuck? The reactions on the crowd's faces said it all. This was a major upset. The crowd was completely stunned into silence. I was just surprised that another part-timer broke the streak. I mean, what's up with giving like a younger guy a push? But I suppose when Brock had him up for that third F5 of the night, I thought, there's no way he's going to kick out of this. This has been the most shocking thing to happen in wrestling since Montreal 2007. The screw job. Which is funny because there's now stories going around on the internet to say that Undertaker was meant to win, and Brock actually changed the script, if you like. Taker was literally too badly injured to kick out, and Brock just took advantage of it and pinned him when he wasn't supposed to, and now Vince McMahon's fuming, and apparently he's going to fire Brock Lesnar. I won't read too much into it. I mean, don't believe everything that you read on the internet, but this is what I've been hearing. It does also make me think as well that, I mean, does this still mean we're ever going to get Sting versus Undertaker? Probably not. I mean, now that the streak's over, this may very well mean that the Undertaker's going to retire. Again, to be honest, the crowd were dead for most of the match. I actually heard that a number of very angry and upset fans started leaving the arena after this match, which got me thinking, well, if Daniel Bryan doesn't win now, there's going to be blood. Literally, there's going to be blood. Next up, it was the Divas match, or as it's also known as, the Piss Break. To be fair, it was better than what I expected. It was probably the best Divas match that they've had at WrestleMania for quite some time. But the problem was the crowd was still dead after the last match. As I predicted, AJ retained the title. Backstage, Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful himself, and his sweet handlebar moustache, alongside Roddy Piper, finally buried the hatchet with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. Hey, it only took them 30 years. So, the main event is here. Orton versus Batista versus Bryan. And there is no reaction whatsoever to Randy Orton's entrance, even with a live band playing his music. Face of the company, my ring piece. At least Batista got a reaction. Fair enough, it was a chorus of boos, but at least it was a reaction. And then, here comes Bryan. He's hurt. He's not 100%. But you know what? This is his time. The yes movement will not be denied. I just hope that the main event can actually win the crowd back, considering they've been dead since Taker versus Brock. There was an amazing spot with a Batista bomb into an RKO on Bryan through the announcer's table. Although it looked like Orton had actually caught off worse as he landed right on top of the monitor, which to be honest they should have shifted out of the way, and he ended up splitting his back open. There was blood all over his back. Some chance for CM Punk were going on as well. I mean, I was thinking if Punk's music hit, the internet would quite literally splooge itself. I have to say as well, I was expecting Hogan to show up, you know, the actual host of WrestleMania, and I thought he'd have come out and got involved when Triple H brought the crooked referee out. As a WrestleMania host, Hogan was severely underutilised. Then again, considering that Hogan couldn't even remember which fucking arena he was in, maybe that's a good thing. Bryan got put into a stretcher, but he were getting out of it. He's having none of that. He's not giving up. A couple of amazing near falls here and there, which got us on the edge of a seat. But in the end, Daniel Bryan becomes the WWE World Heavyweight Champion after making Batista tap out to the yes lock. Yes! 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 What an amazing show. Shocking at every turn. And a happy ending that makes sense. And D-Bry winning the title makes sense. In fact, anything involving Bryan was the highlight of the night for me. Daniel Bryan has had one of the most epic journeys in the wrestling business. He clawed his way up from the bottom through the independent scene and became a fan favourite. Made his name in such companies as Ring of Honor, over in Japan, over here in the United Kingdom. Managed to get his big break into WWE and worked his ass off to become the biggest thing in the business. Now WrestleMania 30 ends with him holding up the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in front of thousands of screaming fans. Whether you loved it or hated it, you will remember this pay-per-view in years to come. Nostalgia, excitement, utter disbelief, and emotional satisfaction. No one does it better than the WWE. Until next time, this is the Big Daddy D, signing out.